Or fidget. So, hi, welcome to Coffee with Cunts. I'm Saoirse Wong. I am a holistic women's health coach. I specify with perimenopause, and I am with a lovely dear friend all the way on the other side of the world, Lisa Jara. She is a female health specialist and confidant through life crisis. That's a mouthful, but I love what it encapsulates just by like that that gives me a warm hug with your title. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, I like how that feels, like, kind of thing. So we really want to share talking about menstrual activism today with you and how important our menstrual cycle is and why activism around this is, especially in these times of the world where there's so much information, there's too much information, there's not right information. And we're really understanding how little the world likes women. We need to come together and really support the right stuff with this. Yeah. So take it away. Like, where would you like to start with this big, huge, delicious topic? Because like, it's surprising to me for doing this for how long I have, how little we know personally about our own menstrual cycle, how unhonored it is, and still sort of how shamed it is. And then finding out even the products that we're supposed to use were never really even tested for us. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing what's going on and the things that are coming up for us right now.
Yeah, and you've named at least 5 different ways this conversation could go just there. But yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. I love the title Coffee with Cunts, by the way. And as I've learned just now from you in the pre-chat, that it was originally an honorary title for a goddess. That makes it feel even more special because it's like reclaiming these words that at some point by patriarchy have been turned into something against us, and now we are reclaiming. Similar to things like pussy, there are people who reclaim the word pussy as something positive instead of derogatory. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you think of how like the most insulting word you can call someone are female body parts.
Yeah.
Right. That's why in my household, it's a limp dick if you're an issue. So it's like, just to counterbalance. But
yeah.
So
I actually had a conversation the other day about like lady parts and how we don't even have neutral words for them. Like, most of what we know is derogatory or like very, very clinical, and I don't want to call me that or my parts that. And it's such a taboo zone. Menstrual activism. I like to compare it to. Have you ever heard of the book Pleasure Activism?
Yes.
And so in it, like, exactly, and that's about like pleasure is also something that has been taken from us, or that we have been told lies about, if you will. And reclaiming that can be a very powerful act. Similar to that, reclaiming our menstruation and actually our whole menstrual cycle, including all 4 phases, can something really powerful. And my tagline is, you and your cycle have the power to change the world, because I firmly, firmly believe that.
Amen, sister. No, as seriously, you're speaking my like 100%. I was talking to someone too. I think we're not going to change the world till society is centered around women. Right? Like, it's just until we do that, we are not going to live in a healthy world. So I'm with you. That's how we change the world.
Yes. And also what I like to point out is that all beings are cyclical. Like, all beings, life, nature, we are all cyclical. It's just different cycles with different cycle lengths. And that's why, whether you're a woman, a man, a non-binary person, you always have a cycle. And when you pay more attention to that than to the linear structures that tell us like progress and more is the only way forward. But when you turn within and honor the cycles and the different phases, that alone will change the world. Because when you start doing that, guess what? Your children will learn by example. You will bring it into your communities, and thereby You can do so much. I heard a quote the other day, like, I'm just one small human. I can't do anything, was what 7 billion people said.
We love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the issue. You can do so much when you start listening to your cycle. And by the way, like I have for the longest part of my life not been in touch with my body nor with my cycle. I discovered that in my early 30s when I went through a mental health crisis. And I came across this book that was called Goddess Wisdom. And I was like, ooh, goddess? It sounds intriguing, but I'm not sure. And the author, Tanishka the Moon Woman, who became a dear mentor of mine, she pointed out in that very book how this wisdom has been withheld from us for centuries, for millennia, how important the cycles, like all of them, our personal cycle, but also the moon cycle, the yearly cycle, the planetary cycles, all of them are. And like nature could only stick around because she honors all of the 4 phases, including rest, and yet we don't. But when we start doing that and attuning to our cycle, we can change the world. And that's kind of my activism. That's why I call it menstrual activism. And also, and that's something that you and I agree on, is like we don't lose our cycle when we cross over into post-menopause. It's simply a shifting to often, like a lot of people can attune to the moon. Not everyone does. Then I say, hey, then just track on a daily basis. Like, where am I at today? And how can I honor that with everything that I've got on my plate? Simple as that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like we have had so much wisdom taken away from us systemically, and it's nice to see it birthing back in its way, in its new forms, in a concept. But that cyclical thing is so important for us to remember. That's exactly, we're not separate from nature, we're a part of it. And the more we start, and we're not supposed to control it, which is what cultures we're coming out of are really having a hard time understanding, is we're not meant to control anything. So when we can sink into our cycle, our version of it, there's a softening in our humanity. There's a healing, there's a connection, there's a presence that all of these sort of religions and theorists are talking about. And it's like, all you have to do is just get into that cycle. It's in you already. I think that as womb owners, who have a natural bleed or who have allowed themselves to bleed, we have to learn so much about ourselves in that. And then when we go to the bigger cycle, when we release our bleed and we step up onto a bigger stage, it's pretty awe-inspiring. Yeah. And I'm with you. I came to the cycle information later in my life too. For me, it was like, period was just, it was there. You got through it. You sucked it up. You did what you had to, and you moved on. You didn't talk about it. You snuck your pad in your pants when you went to the bathroom to change things. Like it's weird. And so when I started learning about the cycle wisdom, it was like, fuck me. Like, this would have been beautiful stuff to have all the way along. Glad I have it now. But yeah, I think that for me, that's where the activism is like, can we get this out to as many people as possible so that we can really understand something that we've been told is just crazy? It's not. There is a pattern in ourselves. There is a natural ebb and flow in ourselves. So if we can live into it, it's quite refreshing. It's lovely.
It is. And also for me, it's deep decolonization work. Like at the heart of, and I developed that through another mentor, Isha Lunar, who is big on decolonizing time. And like through their work, I understood that what I do is decolonizing the body, because what happened in colonization is like colonizers would go to another country, claim it as theirs, and then separate the people from the land. So basically separating from their faith, their spirituality, from everything that gave them orientation. Because when you look at native people, they get their information and their orientation from the land around them, including animals and other beings. And as soon as you separate them, well, guess what? They have no orientation. And that's when our mind starts grasping for control. I like to always refer to this. It was a series called Night Flyer, I believe. It's a sci-fi series. And there was the consciousness of a woman, of a scientist, transferred as the board computer of that spaceship. And because it was separated from a body, it got more and more controlling. You could watch that throughout the series as it was going on. I was like, yeah, that's the thing. When you don't have the information that your body gives you, because your body stores so much more information all the time that your mind can't process. And when you're separated from that, you don't have all the information that you need to make a conscious and wise decision. And so that's the first thing. We got separated from our very own bodies.
Amen.
And that's the thing that needs to happen. We need to get back into a relationship. And no, relationships are not easy. And no, relationships aren't always pretty. That's okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Because I think that in a lot of sort of like the spiritual practice world, there's that fluffiness of like, oh, let's make it a pretty goddess. Let's make it. And for myself, I like the dirty, gross, cringy Kali's, the witch, the crones, the ones that have like, to me, sustainable collective like power, where we really want to think it's fluffy and pretty and put some sparkles, and there's nothing wrong with the sparkles. I like a sparkle, but you have to remember we're cyclical. There's times of height and beautiful energy, and there's times of deep delving. And if we can remember that all of that is part of it, we can ease into the uncomfortableness of it, because that's where the growth happens. But I thank you for stating that. Yeah, relationship with yourself is not always fun. There's shit that you come across that I'm like, well, that was wow, holy.
Yeah, that's what you refer to as something I also point out, like we forget the dark goddess. The divine feminine, yes, has a sparkly side, and it also has a destructive side, because she understands that from destruction, something new is born, which is the exact same process that happens inside of our bodies every month. Part of us dies and something else gets reborn. Yeah. And when we understand how to journey that every month, then we know how to journey a bigger life transition, which also involves death of some sort, death of an old version of us. Yeah. Like, I've just written an article on postpartum depression, and I was like, yes, because we are not prepared for what it means to birth a baby, because some part of you has to die, the part that is no parent, because you will never be not a parent anymore.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes from this deep fear of death, right? I like the fact that we want to worship youth is because we're scared of the old lady or the old man or the old being, because it represents we're close to the grave. But that close to the graveness is that step closer to your wisdom and that rebirth again, right? So it's fascinating to remember. Yeah, it's birth and death. And again, that's a cycle. If we don't die, we can't be reborn. And if we're not reborn, we become stagnant and rot. And that's not healthy.
Yeah. And by the way, it's okay to be afraid of that. It's just like not okay, or like it doesn't help you to turn your head the other way, because guess what? If you don't look at it, it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
So we unfortunately, and I don't say like push through or anything like that. It's important to soothe your nervous system so that you can take it bit by bit. Like that's the most important part. Your nervous system has to be okay with the pace. Always go at the pace of the slowest part of you.
Mhm. Good.
And you need to
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. Yeah, you still need to move. Yeah. That's stagnation, right? Like if we don't move, that's the stagnating bog of
And that's the other thing we forget so easily, that everything is change, always, all the time. The only permanence in life is change. And I myself need to tell myself that every day. Because guess what? My brain also likes stability.
Mhm. Yep, it's a dance. It's a dance, isn't it? Yeah.
It
It's funny
is.
because we even no matter how much information we get, it's we it's embodying it. It's moving it from the
Mhm.
brain to the body is what's going to make us comfortable with all of that. But we're so uncomfortable with our body that we dwell up here. And that's when the fear kind of takes hold even deeper, which means we go to the body even less.
Yeah,
And
again, when you're separated from the
yeah,
body, the mind starts
yeah,
becoming afraid and more afraid.
yeah, so fascinating. Yeah. So,
And I mean, yeah, it's like obviously in the societies we live in, it's really hard to be in in especially a female body in
yeah.
this day and age because we are not safe. Like literally in many countries or in many regions, our bodies aren't a safe place to be, let alone all the emotions that can be physically painful.
Hmm. Yeah.
So like it's no wonder we don't want to be here. And also, let me tell you, it's worth doing it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And it's shocking some days. This is one thing I like about getting older is and doing this work is I feel safer because I'm safer in my body, but I'm also older. So in the society, I'm no longer the desirable thing.
Mhm.
So I can walk in the world much different. Um, I am now the thing that's scary because I have this voice and it
Mhm.
can't be put back because I just don't care anymore because I'm comfortable. And all the harm that could have been done was done to me in my youth. And I've done the work. Most of it, shit comes up. That's the joy of working in your cycle. You're like, well, that was a nice thing.
Mhm.
Um, and and so it's really fascinating to be like, oh, but you still working with younger bodies, you see the terror, or working with much older bodies that never got to process anything. That terror is real in the female bodies and in bodies that identify strongly as female, whatever
Yeah.
their, yeah. So it's I think that's a really important thing for us to acknowledge is the lack of safety for us to do this work. So if you do it, you're being incredibly brave. Like the bravery is tenfold.
Yeah, and the other thing I always find so interesting when I look around, like I am mostly focusing on menstrual health and perimenopausal health.
Hmm.
And wherever I look, it's about I help. First of all, it's all about I help you get rid of the symptoms, the pain, the PMS, the bloating, the migraines, whatever. But like that's all, that's as far as we can think. Like having no symptoms is the sign of a healthy cycle, apparently. And like
Yeah.
we don't know what can lie on the other side. I myself, I was lying there the other day because I have for years suffered from extreme menstrual pain through applying everything we've learned in our training, you and I. Like
Hmm.
it has gotten significantly better, and yet I still lie there every once in a while, and I go like, "Oh, I wish someone would just make this pain stop." And then I stopped myself, and I was like, "Okay, and if it stopped, then what? What would I do instead?" And I had no idea, other than
Yeah.
go about my day. But I don't want it to be just another day because it's such a special time. And that's why I'm currently on the quest of like finding out and asking people what a happy, healthy period experience looks like for them, so that we do have other role models.
Yeah.
And that's something important.
Again, having conversations like this is so important because there are a lot, if you have a healthy, normal period, you just don't talk about it. You just get on with your day. Like I'm lucky. I'm one of those women. I've never really had, I think I had one excruciating pain period in my life. And I was like, what the hell? But and you just get on with it. Nobody really knows what's going on with your body. Until I really lived in it. And now there's a warning thing on my fridge to let the people I live with know what season I'm in. Because when you start to be aware, I'm like, oh, there are days where I'm going to rip your face off legitimately. And there are days where I want to eat everything in the fridge. And when you start living in your cycle, you're like, oh, they come at the same time. Okay, then I want to start looking deeper at why is that? Why is this the day I want to rip people's face off, or the day I need to cry, or the day I'm so exhausted? And then you can start honoring those, like the deeper you cycle in. But we don't talk about that because you're like, well, you don't have any pain. Good. Get on with it. You're pretty much a man. Chuck it on, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm actually even thinking about holding workshops for teams that have women or consist mainly of women or people with menstrual cycles, and how they can actually work together in a way that allows everyone in their respective phase to bring forward the energy that's prevalent and the powers, the superpowers that come with each phase. And maybe that we should have a little introduction to what this actually means and what we're talking about when we speak about tuning into your cycle.
You know what? Yeah, we should definitely do that. Like, I think that's a great way to also be like, that's something I'm starting to get into my practice, is like, where are you in your cycle? Like right now, I'm deep in fall, about to slide into winter. And we'll definitely have to talk about that. But that's where I'm sitting. And I think that would be a great way for us, like, to introduce when we meet a woman. Oh, hi, my name is, I'm in fall. And it's like, oh, and I get you have some deeper wisdom, or you have your little critic coming to talk to you. What support you need? Or I'm in summer. Great. You know what? You're going to go party it out, girlfriend. And I'm not going to be able to keep up with you, but I'm going to enjoy the energy you're going to give me, kind of thing. Or winter, we just need to get you blankets and cookies, right? So that kind of thing. I would love all of us to be able to just say that beautifulness. I think it's beautiful, kind of thing. So
yeah, well, the thing though that the thing I want to say is that in that case, because not everyone experiences summer the same way.
Absolutely.
That's why it's also important to say, hey, I'm in my summer and this is what's true for me today.
Yes, I concur with you 100%. Yeah, because it's not like, ooh, like, again, it's not linear. And I think this is also something really important, is every woman, and this is why Western medicine doesn't like us, is every single woman is so fucking unique. Like every single one. There is no blanket pill. Like I always use the example of Viagra. Every man on the planet can take Viagra and know kind of what's going to happen. There's a slight variation. That's why most tests have always been undone on men, because they don't have a variation, right? It's testosterone. I mean, they have all the hormones, like you can get into it, but predominantly high testosterone in the morning, low at night. They're pretty linear. There's some woogie things that happen, but not like us. We cycle daily, hourly, monthly, yearly, lifely. And so when you start throwing us into science-y stuff, it's hard to test, because every single one of us is so fucking different, so unique. We're, and that's really important. So I agree with you. It's like, I'm kind of in summer, but I'm at this part of my summer, and sliding into, yeah.
And what you just said brought me back to that. I didn't finish my point earlier. Like there was this one part about, sorry, I like to be sidetracked, but I remember.
We speak like, I always talk about this, we speak like shamans speak in circles. So just go where you need to go.
Exactly.
We always circle back. Yeah.
We circle back. So I said that most of what I see out there is geared towards, absence of symptoms is like what I help you with. And the other thing that I realize is they say in their description, I help you get like release all of that without the woo-woo. And inside I go like, I'm so sorry for you that you want to do it without the woo-woo because you need it.
We are
At least to
woo-woo.
a certain degree.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, spirituality is different for everyone, but for
Amen.
me, it's all about this like personal deep connection and feeling held by something bigger than you. And
Yeah.
whether for you that's God or Goddess or Allah or nature or the universe or source or whatever else there is, angels, that's fine. You do you. But something that helps you feel less alone, and that is also happening throughout our cycle. I like to say your cycle works you on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level, and
Yeah.
really working you,
Working you.
meaning it's really working you
Oh my
every
fucking
month.
God. Yeah. Every fucking month. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. So let's start in our winter, which is like I am where I am right
Yeah.
now, or like coming out of inner winter. I'm on my day 6 today, which is the time of menstruation, the bleed, or the time of dark moon if you do not or no longer have a menstrual cycle. And it's this time of resting, like winter. I hope that you can, even if you live in a country that does not have the 4 seasons as pronounced, maybe you can understand it in terms of the daily cycle, night. That would be the same as winter, rest, where everything moves kind of slowly. There is not a lot of energy. Our hormones are at their lowest level, like the sex hormones. And we tend to be the most inward and the most connected to ourselves and to our real essence, like the truth, the this deep, undefinable thing that you are, soul, if you want to call it soul, but this deep truth of yes, this is me, and this is what I'm here for, and this is what I want to bring in the world, into the world. And that is something you come back to every month. That's why I like to see the cycle as a compass, and your inner winter being your true north that you get back to over and over and over again. Then you lose yourself a little bit in the celebratory summer phase. That's okay. You will remember the next winter is going to come
Yeah.
around.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then moving into inner spring is when the energy slowly comes back. It's like waxing moon phase or the morning. The estrogen level starts rising again. So on the one hand, there can be lots of inspiration and ideas and an upbeat energy. And also, it can make you feel anxious and overwhelmed because so much is happening and you would prefer to stay in your winter cave. And that there is where we start seeing that there is a whole spectrum of things
Yeah.
that can be true for you in this phase. And what I like to point out is that estrogen is our caring hormone. So estrogen cares for our body, for example, for
Oh,
different health things like the cardiovascular system, bones, all of that. And also, estrogen means you care about what other people think of you.
I know, damn it. Yeah, but it's true. But it's so important. It is, wow, estrogen. Just
Yep.
what that girl does for us. Yeah.
And then we move into inner summer, which on a hormonal level would mean like your testosterone is rising, your libido increases, your body starts being more open and have a lot of usually more energy than in the other phases.
Yeah.
You like to engage with other people and maybe even have a little sexy time.
I think
Your body prepares for that.
totally.
Yep.
And I think it's important to remind people because this is something that a lot of women go, what? Because testosterone is always equated to men. And so a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women don't know we have it and that it rises at this point, and that's why we're outward going and why like it's what's getting us prepared. And most of our hormones are made out of testosterone too. Our body just beautifully takes it and creates the estrogen and the androgen, all of the goodness. But just, I think that that's really important for women to know. We have testosterone, which can bleed into another conversation about why we have all these genders and what's going on. But because science shows like it's how it's presenting itself. But yeah, it's that testosterone at that moment that goes ta-da, and we go yay and get a little horny, and Ryan Reynolds looks really great. So yeah. Or whoever you choose at the moment, but
you sidetracked me for a moment.
I know.
My brain is elsewhere.
We all had a Ryan Reynolds moment. Great. Yeah.
Yes, and also for some people, summer can be intense and like too much heat, just as people in countries near the equator have siestas. That's because there is too much heat. So it can be that your summer is more like, oh, I want to retreat from the world. Please don't bother me. I'll wait for cooler times. And that is fine too, of course. And then moving into autumn, and I like to speak of it as a twofold autumn. We've got the early autumn and the late autumn. And by now I know that Chinese medicine has the season of late summer, that I would equate that to early autumn.
Yeah.
I really loved when I found that.
Yeah, the Indian, we call it an Indian summer, where you kind of, you still got the heat, but everything's starting to cycle in. You can still run out.
And I find that that's still like this phase where you still have energy, where you are creative, where you are often more focused, maybe like to declutter both inside but also outside your house, preparing everything for winter again. And then there is the second time, like the premenstrual phase, where most of the symptoms show up. If you experience, for example, PMS symptoms, is like when like hormone levels really drop. Because the first part, like right after ovulation, or that is, by the way, what happens in summer, is you ovulate, like an egg comes out of a follicle and you're fertile. And afterwards, the progesterone starts to be produced for the potential nesting of an egg. And this progesterone is the calming hormone. And so it gives you this nice, I feel kind of confident in myself, but in a calm and determined way. I can focus, I can declutter, and everything is kind of okay.
Yeah.
And then all of the hormones drop, and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And what I like to call the autumn the truth-speaking time. And to me, that's part of why there are so many troubles in especially that time, because most of the symptoms that appear in the autumn time, or in menstruation, like in winter. But I believe that all of us on some level can sense if we are aligned with our truth or not. And the farther we are from our truth, the more symptoms we experience.
Yeah.
And again, it's often not conscious.
Yeah.
But some part of us, like, this is not the life I want to live. Yeah. But I don't know what to change.
Yeah.
And this inner disconnect.
Yeah. 100% agree with you on that one. It's when you're in the cycle, that's the true speaker, the critic, the crone, whatever you want to call her. But that's when things are revealed to you about what needs to change, what wants to change, what needs to be healed. It's the space that you really want to look at or sit in, if you can, comfortably, or be held in. Not, like it's the place where I think we need the most support.
Yeah.
And that's what symptoms are about, is it's information from the body saying, hello, let's just tinker here, move a bit, shift, go, let go, release, love a bit more. So, and then, but it's the hardest place because it's the place where society-wise, we kind of start to sink in, and we're not as highly functional for the world. We're not producing, we're not where it's where we really have to look at ourselves, and that's not something that's safe. Again, it's that safety. You need to be really safe in that and held in that. Be able to look at
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
Yeah, our society wants us to be in spring, summer, spring, summer, spring,
Yeah.
summer.
Just
That is
constantly.
already exhausting to speak.
It is. And I love fall. Like I
Mhm.
love the season. I personally love the fall of my seasons, and I
Mhm.
love fall as an outward season. I like the Indian summer one where you still are like you're starting to sink in, you still have the energy. It's
Mhm.
warm and toasty, but I can put on a little bit of a sweater and still wear like all of that stuff is yeah, it's so neat because we're reflections of nature. And your
Yeah.
cycle really lets you see how much of a reflection of nature you are.
Yeah. I also like afternoons, late afternoons and evenings, which is the similar energy just in one day.
Same. I'm with
Yeah.
you. Like early morning, I'm like, no, but oh, give
Yeah.
me 4 o'clock. I'm like, yes. And
Mhm.
then 10 and midnights, because I love my bleed too. Do
Mhm.
once I like, even when I didn't know what my bleed was, I was like, there was this cleansing and stuff like that. And as I
Mhm.
got sunk more into the information of this, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that bleed is like, so yeah, just pay attention to your days. You'll notice it. And it's so neat to see how many places we reflect back to ourselves in the world. And when people are like, I don't know myself, it's like just look for reflections. You'll start to see it if you are allowed the safety and space to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
First step, always witness. Like
Yeah.
increasing this capacity to be with what is present in this moment. And in the beginning, it might only feel safe for 2 seconds to be
Hmm.
here. And that is okay.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
start.
It's a huge start. A lot of people are not comfortable with 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like my favorite practice is really every day go, okay, this is the day of my cycle. This is the phase I'm in. And these are 3 words that describe how I am today. So how can I honor that in my day?
Do you do it journal wise, or do you do it like I have my little pink friend that
Mm.
I keep. I like it. I like it in the journaling context because I love that. That's kind of a practice I did, but I had it in a circle that I learned from the Red School in the UK when I was studying with them. And then I was like, I don't have binders of that, but I like the little book that I can grab and I do it down. For me, I like it so I can look back and I see my pattern.
Hmm.
Like
That's
that's
actually why I set something up in, like, I set up a Google form in my private Google account so
ah,
that every day I write it in there basically, and then I can export it as an Excel sheet, which
so
means I have it right next to each other, like every month, and so I can spot patterns more easily.
so tech version, old version. I need to write it down and flip through it and collect my books or recycle them when they're empty. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and I think that's something that's nice about what we do is we teach and support women to start doing that in the way they can, because getting that information for yourself is not only knowing yourself, but it arms you with a tool when you have to go into the sort of patriarchal colonialism
Mm.
medicine. You have this really powerful
Yeah.
you to be like, this is what's happening. It's happening at this day all the time.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Because they don't, again, this is such a huge amount of information. And most doctors, especially in Canada, are like, they give us 5 minutes.
Mm.
You can't solve anything in fucking 5 minutes. So if
Mm.
you have enough information for yourself, and there's enough information online, and then there's people like us that we are happy to be like, great, I know how to translate that and we can support you in different
Yeah.
ways. That's really important because for me, I witnessed the women in my life be brutalized by Western medicine. And
Mm.
so I do everything I can to support others from staying away from it as much as they can, because there's things I need. I need to access tests and things, and
Yeah.
there's stuff going on internally that I'm like, oh, okay. But on a whole, if we can have that sovereignty of ourself when we go in, we
Mhm.
can advocate for ourselves, and that's how we feel safer.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
that's
you're in
exactly the
Germany.
thing.
Yeah.
But the thing with the doctors is happening as well. Like
Yeah.
it's all in your head, or
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing we can do,
Oh,
or hey, take hormones or go have a surgery.
yeah.
Those are unfortunately still the most common answers from doctors.
Yeah.
And like nothing against doctors whatsoever. I actually believe that most of them would love to support you better, but due to like a lack of information and lack of time to acquire more information for them, and due to the way the healthcare system works, is like like they have to work like a private company. Yeah, of course, the human connection is left lacking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's natural, and that's why me too. I want to encourage everyone to chart their cycle and get to know their body so that they've got the words to express what's going on to their doctors and can collaborate with instead of feel dependent on
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. I
of
think,
course, go see a specialist like me if you want the extra support that you can't get from a doctor.
or if you, yeah, just, and I think that I love this time period we are in as women. It sucks in a lot of sense watching around the world
Mhm.
a lot of back pedaling, but at the same time, to me, that's a sign of how much we move forward. I was talking with a gentleman,
Mhm.
um, because I'm a smartass and a bit of a poke at dragons kind of gal, and there is an older gentleman, and he said something, oh yeah, you women rule the world, and I was like, do you really want to go there with me? Because I'll go there. And it's
Mhm.
like, we get paid 30% less. If we go to a doctor, it takes us 10 years to be diagnosed for anything. We are walking around completely in pain. We are constantly in fear. We are shoulder the bear of emotion, financially, everything. So, no, if we were ruling the world, those things wouldn't be going on.
Mhm.
But I don't know if it's like, for me, it's only been two generations in Canada. 1974, we were allowed our own bank accounts. So
Mhm.
I'm 48. So in 48 years, what women have done is
Mhm.
pretty fucking phenomenal
Yeah.
with all of that shit stacked against us. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what we're going to do in the next 48 years with people like you and me doing
Yeah.
shit like this, teaching and supporting women to really step into these places and speak with authority and power and really own our sovereignty. It gets my yoni tingling. It makes me happy. It's my purpose. Um, it's so exciting. So when I have those shitty days of like, oh my God, another femicide, another rape, another
Mhm.
walala, I go, in 48 years, we've done this. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Thank you for bringing that perspective. It's true. I haven't thought about it that way because very often I do feel powerless, but that's an amazing shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to for my sanity. Like
Yeah, I know. I know
it's
the other day it was my premenstrual rage that came out when I like looked
yep.
at natural family planning or like fertility awareness method with different eyes because like what it teaches is how you can track your ovulation so you know when you are fertile and when you're not, so you can either get pregnant if you want to get pregnant or not get pregnant if you don't
Yeah.
want to get pregnant. And I was like, nice, they are making money. So first they withhold that information from us. Like people, like women used to know when they were
Yep.
fertile, like
Yep.
centuries back, we knew what to
Yep.
look out for in the signs. So first they take away
Literally
this
to the hour.
information.
Yeah, literally to the
Yeah.
hour. We knew our body so well that we could be like, yep, egg drop, let's go. Nope, stay the fuck out of here. Yeah, like, yeah.
And they take that away and
Hmm.
now they sell it back to us to make money out of us because we have to pay for that education so that we can teach others. And by the way, nothing against natural family planning or fertility awareness method or whatever, like or any educator and facilitator who do that. But if you look at it from that perspective, it's like, what the fuck? Take it away to sell it back to us?
That sounds pretty, yeah. That's fun. And you think of how complicated we are. How much shit can they sell back to us? Like, you know, like it just, we think of gut health. We knew our bodies so well that we could look at something and know that that's what we needed. And now we have to be told. I mean, I love the information. This is where I like the sciencey stuff.
Yeah.
I love the woo-woo. Like, I love the marriage of the two. The woo-woo is what got me, keeps me alive. The science makes the woo-woo even more exciting because I go, there, haha, these years I've been telling you. Now here's the science. So blah, blah, blah in your face. So the fact that all of this is coming, but we haven't reached the point where we still live in it as a cycle. We still haven't reached the understanding of ecosystem of self and us inside. That's the next wave I'm seeing. And I think that's really what you and I are about teaching. Is like, understand your ecosystem, understand how you dwell in the ecosystem and how you affect other ecosystems, right? Like if we remove the genders out of it, because that's another whole huge topic I love talking about, but just look at your ecosystem, how it's functioning, how it's affected by other ecosystems. If you're not in a healthy ecosystem, how do we make it healthy? How do we get you out? Like, that alone is just so fucking fascinating. And it really starts with your cycle. It starts with, and it starts with us honoring our first bleed. Like, there would be nothing grander to me than, I don't remember my first bleed. I don't know if you do. And I
do.
I think that's amazing. Was it a good one for you? Like, was it a blessing one or was it a horrible one?
It was neutral. At least for that, I can be thankful.
That's good. I think mine was probably, I think that's why I don't remember it. It was just so not, it just, one day it was there and the next day, like, it wasn't a big deal, but wouldn't it be beautiful? It was. It's the same thing why, like, I love the perimenopausal journey, because to me, that's the next big, like, because we're going back to our spring and our large cycle. We're rebirthing that concept of ourselves in a different way. So to honor that huge phase is profound. But in motherhood, we kind of do it, but we don't. We do that a disservice, as I just went through that shit 2 years ago, and that just makes me angry how little respect we have, basically how little respect we have for women, period, angers me continuously. But when we get to a place where we like, your first bleed, let's make a party, let's honor this is the most, it's not because you can have children for men, it's because you're stepping into this different power.
You're starting to access your power.
The
power that comes from understanding who you are. Every cycle, like a little bit more every cycle. Again, winter is when you know yourself best, and you come back to that again and again and again and again.
To always have, here I am, here I am, here I am.
And of course, you might change over the course of your life. That's natural. The seasons, like no spring is exactly like the spring that came before, or that like the one that comes after. That's okay. But I believe there is some core of you that doesn't change. And that's what you reconnect to and ground into every bleed.
And I always think, like, for me, that's your cycle sets you up for the biggest journey of being the crone. So it's like you're being introduced to yourself, like you said, but you're introducing your future self every time. Like, it's like, this is who you are birthing when you're done with your bleed. Like, this is your power. And then we're done with our bleed and we get to be these grandmothers, these like these fucking power. And I get why we had witch hunts, because those were the most powerful women. So that wisdom, to hold their own, that would be terrifying. And I love it. And I'm so happy we're coming back.
Yeah, me too. Like that's definitely one of the most interesting, like my favorite transitions over the course of a lifetime. And by the way, what I found as and I call myself a confidant through life crises is that all these moments of crises are also connected to our cycle.
Concur.
Like for women at least, is like sexuality, fertility, maybe trouble to get pregnant is about the cycle. Having a miscarriage, needing to abort, it's all about the cycle. Birthing, emptiness, the perimenopause transition, of course, but like it's always connected to our cycles.
Yeah.
So they are very powerful and a compass when you know how to read the compass.
Yes. And that is something that we need to be taught. And that's why women coming together is so powerful, and why also it's not wanted as much, but it's happening, is that we teach each other. It's how to read our compass, how to show us that is really.
And we mirror this power back to each other. 100%. That's the thing, because sometimes we need someone else to remind us of this light and power that is within us. And that's okay. It's not a weakness. It's just we forget and then we remember. Yeah. It's not a big deal. Although, of course, in that moment, it feels like a big deal.
Yeah. And there's your woo-woo, right? Like, I think that's like when it all boils down to, you can put as many sparkles and candles and crystals and paintings and blood smearing. But honestly, the woo-woo is, here I am, here you are, I reflect back, you reflect back. Ta-da. There's your woo-woo. Yeah.
Yes.
You can't avoid that. I mean, you can, obviously people are trying, but yeah, it's so much more beautiful than getting rid of the pain and being able to breathe. So much more profound.
And what you say about community, it's so important to have these spaces where you feel welcome exactly as you are with whatever is present, because there is some healing that can only happen on a collective level, like in a group setting, because the wound was inflicted in a relationship with another person. So you now need a healthier relationship with a different person in order to heal from that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And like with all the thing, I know there's so much about like self-help and you've got the power and you have got it in you. Yes, to a certain degree. And also, we humans are social creatures. We are interdependent. And we need other people in order to survive, like literally. There are some needs that can only be met in community.
Yes. And needs need to be met.
And
I think that's another thing too, that to slide in there is like, needs need to be met. There's nothing fucking wrong with that. Like the story of you're a needy person is such a painful thing to put on people. Such a cruel thing to do to us. So
it's more internalized shame. Yeah. Shame is like, some people say shame is an emotion. I disagree wholeheartedly. Shame is here to control us.
Oh, 100.
To self-police.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not it's not an original emotion. Yeah. No child comes into this world and feels shame.
Shame and guilt I agree with you. They're taught. Yeah, they're absolutely taught. You're 100%. That's what I say too. I'm like, no, that's a control mechanism. Because again, if you
look, and that's why for me, like this, exactly.
Yeah, sorry. Look at children. There's no, that's okay. That's why we're talking. But when we get excited, we talk over each other. I totally get it, because it's like there's this like the joy of being around people who get this stuff and allows us to expand our consciousness and deepen into it. Because I mean, that's why I'm doing this. Is I love these conversations and I love having more of these conversations, but these conversations aren't readily available at this moment in time. I've always been a little bit of the odd duck, and I'll sit with my friends and be like, did you know? And they're like, okay. Right. And then months or years later, they'll be heard from somebody else. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I told you 2 or 3, 4, 5 years ago. But, and that sounds fine. Right. I was the warm up or whatever. But to find others to talk about this deeply is always a gift. And then to be able to share it in this mannerism like we have now, so others can stumble upon it and have these conversations spreading out is. So in Tantra, we talk about being an antidote. So to me, this is an antidote to the poisons that have been created, right? So having these deep conversations is the antidote to all the poison of the disconnection we've had. Yeah, so it's awesome. So yeah, we're going to talk over each other because it's exciting, and we're definitely going to do more of these because this is such a huge thing. Like finding ourselves is a huge thing, and this is such a beautiful way to find ourselves.
And that is what menstrual activism is all about.
Ta-da! I think that beautifully closes it right there till next time. Or we'll go for another hour and I have to honor our time. So yeah, so if you'd love to do this again, I would love that.
Yes, please.
Oh, good. Then we shall book more. And for anyone who's watching this right now, all the information to get a hold of Lisa is, by now everyone knows the things. It's below, it's in there. If you can't get a hold of it, or I've done something wonky to get it in there, message, we will get it to you to work with us. And if not, then watch all the other videos we've recorded too to gain all the information you need and want. So thank you so much. So yeah, I'm enjoying. So thanks everyone for watching Coffee with Cunts, and we'll see you next time.